Welcome to LFN News, a production of LFN Media, bringing you the latest in celebrity news, with specific analysis to keep you in the know of what is going on around you. There is a huge misconception by a section of the public that R. Kelly is actually like any other American that has merely had an unfortunate series of bad days, probably due to a series of wrong choices, as if to insinuate that maybe, if R. Kelly had made some different choices along his career, then maybe he would not be a victim of the current allegations against him. Maybe so. Maybe, if R. Kelly had instead worked his way towards becoming a whole lot less successful, way less influential and much less wealthy, then he probably would not see any of these allegations come his way. It is indeed a misconception, as the truth of the matter is, R. Kelly was merely targeted by the government, supported by some of the most powerful people of the land, specifically for who he had, or was threatening to soon become. What's gravely disturbing, however, is the fact that the justice system has deeply rooted itself in these injustices, intended to steadily bring down selected successful individuals, especially from the Black American community, in a bid to strip them of their influence amongst their fans and supporters. Surprisingly, many seem to think that this injustice is normal, as long as they are not directly affected themselves, clearly forgetting Dr. King once said that, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Reason we all ought to be bothered by this. Once a successful, Black, public figure is identified as a potential threat, based on their level of wealth and influence gathered, then they are targeted with allegations, intended to bring them down to a point of no return. The allegations are always merely a means to get to the goal of completely dethroning these individuals, and stripping them completely of their honor and influence, and concurrently, of any means to reacquire any of that. Such was the case of Bill Cosby. In the run-up to Bill Cosby's trial, for instance, institutions that had formerly embraced him, rushed to distance themselves from him. Honorary degrees from multiple universities were revoked. Networks stopped airing his show. A mural in North Philadelphia was painted over. And much, much more. We saw exactly the same pattern in R. Kelly's case. A growing number of celebrities, musicians, and former collaborators publicly denounced him in the wake of the surviving R. Kelly documentary series and subsequent Mute R. Kelly campaign. Some of his collaborators even pulled down their songs with Kelly off streaming services. Streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music removed his songs from featured playlists. He was dropped by his record label, Sony-owned RCA Records. And much more. Everything was orchestrated from the same playbook that had been used to bring down Bill Cosby. As you may have it, it's evident that Bill Cosby's case served as the ultimate test of the government's fully fledged strategy to take down highly influential and wealthy Black personalities, ironically, often with vast support from actual Black personalities. The government's double L approach, as Andrew Wyatt, Bill Cosby's publicist, likes to put it, involves ruining the target's legacy first, and then their livelihood. In ruining the target's legacy, the media comes in handy in helping create a narrative that will sound believable, even to the target's own supporters and fans, thereby breaking their influence at every level. In R. Kelly's case, the whole media built this narrative, that R. Kelly was a monster, who allegedly took pleasure in doing unspeakable things to women. According to analysts, this strategy is used to completely break up his fan base, and have many of them start second-guessing who their star actually is. What's particularly interesting for R. Kelly's case, though, is how the government has continually leveraged other Black celebrities to support in bringing him down. It is alleged that the self-destructing, infamous R. Kelly interview with Gayle King was actually funded by Oprah, in a bid to entice R. Kelly's shoddy publicist then, Daryl Johnson, into luring R. Kelly into the interview. According to Andrew Wyatt, he personally tried talking R. Kelly out of that interview, but he just couldn't get through to him. That was clearly not the time for him to do a sit-down interview. He was clearly too emotional at the time for such. If anything, it should have been someone else taking the interview on his behalf, and this should have been common knowledge for any seasoned publicist. But it's no surprise, as we all know now, that Daryl Johnson was actually a scammer, and he must have cared less about what effect this could potentially have on R. Kelly's reputation, but rather about the money. The government has continually used people around R. Kelly to whisk him into decisions that help cement their narrative, intended to further draw him away from his fans and supporters. Then comes the stage of taking away his livelihood. Again, through schemes, well orchestrated by the government, R. Kelly's wealth was steadily siphoned from him, completely incapacitating him financially. Having successfully cut him off his major source of livelihood, music, the government continuously invented opportunities to take whatever little was still remaining of his royalties, leveraging other entities and individuals, through a corrupt justice system. In 2019, Kelly was sued by one of the 4 alleged victims in his pending Cook County criminal case, and she was awarded a whopping $4 million in March of 2020. Early 2020, Kelly's former landlord, Midwest Commercial Funding, a Wisconsin-based property management company, secured a $3.5 million judgment against the singer, to supposedly cover unpaid rent and repair costs at the studio space. The government has further slapped R. Kelly with restitution verdicts, in hundreds of thousands of dollars, he is supposedly meant to pay to some of his alleged victims. All these and more, a part of their big plan to frustrate his livelihood and ensure he has no way to pick himself back up, should he inevitably get out of jail sooner than they anticipated. It is indeed unfortunate how someone can work so hard to legally build a legacy, only to be singled out and targeted by the same government that you so diligently pay taxes to. For this to actually prevail, in a country that boasts one of the strongest democracies in the world, is surely disappointing. Clark Naley, Vice President for Criminal Justice at the Cato Institute, has written a lot of literature about the rot in the American justice system, but not much of it ever made real sense to me before, until I could evidently link this to the Bill Cosby, R. Kelly pattern. In one of his books, he writes, "America's criminal justice system is fundamentally rotten, but the effects of its dysfunction are not felt equally by all Americans. Instead, it is the marginalized and politically disenfranchised who bear the brunt of that injustice, including particularly communities of color. Although both the root causes and the significance of these disparities in our criminal justice system are debatable, their existence is not. And when people perceive correctly in my judgment that some lives are counted by the system as less sacred than others, they are going to be angry about it. And they damn well should be." He wrote. If you have been following our stories, you will notice that there are individuals who have done far worse than the allegations against R. Kelly, yet they continue to walk the streets free. But with the hope in a successful appeal, all this injustice will soon be behind us. That's all we had for you today. Thank you for watching LFN News, a production of LFN Media, giving you another view of issues at hand. To get notified whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now and hit the notification icon, and remember to give us your comment on the subject matter below.